SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 presents The Sentinels.
Hello and welcome to SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present The Sentinels. I'm your host Gautam Srinivasan, and in this special presentation we bring to you insights from technology and data security leaders into protecting your organization's most sensitive data that lives on the endpoint and in the cloud from cyber attacks. To set the context, India is in the midst of a digital revolution, especially as hybrid work became the norm due to pandemic-induced lockdowns. But this increase in data touchpoints within and outside the organization also brought with it an increasing number of cyber attacks. Here are some figures. 2020 saw over 11 lakh cyber attacks being reported. Now that's 3 times the figure logged in 2019. Last year, over 6 lakh attacks were logged in just the first 6 months. From airlines to pizza brands, the range was expansive and the methods, it seems, have become increasingly sophisticated. Now, considering rapid scaling up of startups to unicorns and large businesses to conglomerates, the big question is, how can enterprises fortify every edge of their network as they grow? Could AI and machine learning-driven cybersecurity hold the key to preventing threats at faster speed, greater scale, and higher accuracy than what was possible till now? And if so, how do you choose the right solution for you? Let's find out from 2 leaders in this area who each come with over 2 decades of experience. Joining me on this conversation are Diwakar Dayal, Managing Director for India at SentinelOne, which is a pioneer in delivering autonomous security for the endpoint, data center, and cloud environments to help secure vital data assets for organizations, and Dilip Panjwani, Principal Director and Chief Information Security Officer and IT Controller at Larsen & Toubro Infotech. Gentlemen, great to have you with us on this show. Let's start by separating the facts from the friction caused by myths about AI in the market when it comes to security. Diwakar, we'll start with you. As attacks become more sophisticated, I want to understand from you first, how is AI, machine learning, and automation changing the narrative around defense in this new normal from, say, cure to prevention? Your thoughts, Diwakar.
Well, the threat landscape, right, has evolved in the last 2 years so fast that if you just look at the headlines, right, it looks like clearly the organizations are losing the war. Attackers or adversaries, right, they have unlimited access to funds, time, right, resources, sometimes, resources like the nation state tools, right, and of course they do collaborate on the dark web. And hence, they have been relentlessly, right, attacking the defenders. And they just need to get it right once. If you look at business on the other side, right, who have cybersecurity programs, they need to get right the defense 365 days a year, 24/7. If you look at, the last couple of years, because of these attacks, it kind of looks like the balance of power has kind of shifted towards the attackers, right? And what we need to do is get these organizations or the businesses to get this balance of power flipped back towards them. How can you do that? You can do that, one, by basically embracing advanced technologies like automation and autonomous cybersecurity, which primarily help reduce the human element or human factor in the way we can resolve the problem.
All right. Now, the balance of power shifting from, say, the attackers to the defender, as you mentioned, the need for technology is there to make sure that that happens. But I want to understand from you, what defines true AI security capabilities for the digital-first organizations of today and tomorrow?
Well, the cyber attackers today really move fast, right? So the traditional adage of 1:10:60, which is like 1 minute to detect, 10 minutes to contain, 60 minutes to kind of remediate, is pretty much antiquated and outdated today. Why is that? Simply because, it takes maybe a millisecond or a click of a, mouse button to really launch a ransomware attack. And hence, we need to kind of move away from this, AI in the cloud, which is nice to have, to a lot more in the site of the attack AI, right? And what that really means is reducing this traditional AI technologies, so-called AI technologies, which primarily basically involve either too much, noise compared to signals, that goes back to the operators, too much dependency on the cloud and the cloud-based latency and delays, and of course too much dependency on services and human beings, again, to manage detection and response. And hence we have an opportunity now to really embrace a truly autonomous AI-driven cybersecurity, which primarily works in an automated fashion. And it is able to really give a lot more stronger signal compared to the noise. And how does it help? It helps in the fact that then organizations can, one, have a higher detection rate, which means that they really don't miss anything else, right? They have lower false positive, which also means that they're not focusing on the wrong problems to solve. Zero delays in terms of the fact that these are millisecond-based attacks, so hence you are there at the site to really stop them. And of course, zero config changes, which also means that you're not using people and reducing the human error. So basically, we're talking about using the power of the machines to fight the machines.
Dilip, let me hear from you. You've heard Diwakar talk about AI, ML and the benefits. From your standpoint, where you see, how do you see AI, ML and automation benefiting your organization's cybersecurity strategy?
So Gautam, today, as we all know, the attacks have been becoming more automated, sophisticated, complex and multi-staged. Attackers are using automation at every layer to constantly attack with much higher velocity, at the same time ensure that they get under the radar and are able to do maximum damage. The AI and ML engine related security solutions are typically where they bring in the benefit for baselining the good behavior or a known behavior of an organization assets on how users behave. And eventually, if you find anything out of the line when it comes to those assets or those users, that's when the AI ML engine picks it up, flags it to the respective security team via tickets, or gets into an automated action response, which can then eventually be used to protect the organization.
Fair point. On that note, let's take a short break on SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present the Sentinels. When we return, the discussion will expand to making the right choice for securing growth. Stay tuned.
SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present the Sentinels. SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present the Sentinels.
Welcome back to SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present the Sentinels, where we are exploring the power of AI and machine learning for enabling enterprises to secure their today and tomorrow. Now, in the previous segment, we separated facts from the fiction in determining what AI can actually do when it comes to endpoint security. Now, in this segment, we will understand how organizations can choose the right security framework and solution for their needs. Diwakar, again, some believe that the OS vendor supplied security software, that must be safer or less risky than, say, third-party vendors. So what can third-party vendors, especially dedicated, say, security solution specialists, offer that an OS vendor cannot?
Well, nothing can be farther from the truth that you just said, right? In a funny way, all of us exist in the cybersecurity industry simply because, the operating systems from day one have never been secure, right? Operating system by nature have been designed to solve a different problem and purpose. Just like the internet, which has never been designed with security in mind, similarly, the operating system has been designed with agility, installing more applications and speed and whatnot, really in mind. And hence, over the period of last few decades, as operating systems have, not been able to deliver a really secure install code, have a lot of vulnerabilities, hackers or adversaries have actually exploited them to the core, right? Given that in the last couple of years, some of the operating system vendors have kind of woken up and said, hey, wait a minute, maybe we need to do a better job in terms of securing this operating system, and hence they may have tried the approach of band-aids, right? They may try to bolt on security. Unfortunately, I don't think it's helping so far. Third-party companies like SentinelOne, we are razor sharp focused in really understanding breach and hackers on a day-to-day basis and being able to really deliver to our customers an experience to stop those attacks, right? We don't have legacy codes. We don't have 30-year-old operating system codes that we need to really take care of, and hence we are able to really provide agile software, something that can be updated immediately, right, on a basis of an overcoming attack, right? For operating systems to even launch or even to kind of upgrade their EDR features, they may sometimes have to wait at least for a couple of months, if not a year, because the base operating system is going to take time to develop. And that utter lack of cybersecurity focus, though in parts they do try to get it right, doesn't help. If you're a very smart CIO or a CISO, I would ask you this question. Would you buy cybersecurity from the same vendor that you're engaging with for operating system, right? Ideally, you would want to do a best-of-breed architecture, which means buy the best-of-breed security software with the best-of-breed operating system. And I guess that would be a smarter way to really go about it.
All right, let's look at the crystal ball. I want to understand from you, what are the threats that organizations should prepare for in the post-pandemic world, and how can SentinelOne counter those threats for customers who operate, say, in a variety of industries as a large or a small business? Tell us about SentinelOne's unique security proposition.
Sure. Before that, ransomwares, I think we need to understand, are here to stay, right? And so is the whole work from home, COVID, hybrid models. None of these are going away, which basically means that the endpoint is now become the most important asset, right? Because data is processed on that, the data is getting created on that. More importantly, it is now the kind of the gold, the crown gel, which is really out there, outside the perimeter. And SentinelOne's approach has always been prevention first, right? Prevention first from a point of view that when customers feel that they're constantly putting out fires today, right, we're able to really reduce the number of fires that they need to worry about, but also automate in the way they were trying to, put out the fires. And this basically means that organizations have the power to really equip every endpoint out there, right, to make intelligent decisions, right, irrespective of the connectivity, irrespective of the cloud latency and what are the other issues you may have. The endpoint has got software that can take care of itself. And that to us is the value proposition that SentinelOne has been able to bring. The fact that we are truly autonomous, right, at the same time automated cybersecurity company, which can provide this platform that helps clients, right, organizations really stay one step ahead of attackers, at the same time make sure that they are not compromising their gold at any cost.
All right, Dilip, let me come to you as a technology leader in your organization. What parameters do you keep in mind for choosing the right security provider for endpoint protection?
So Gautam, when you look at endpoint protection for an organization, typically one of the main concerns you will see is productivity. The number of agents are getting bloated and they're getting more and more heavier on the endpoint, which typically adds up to the productivity loss for an individual when he's doing activities on his assets. Now, what do you look at when you want to deploy an endpoint protection? That's part of your cyber defense strategy, definitely. It's one of the main components of your layered security defense approach, but has to also have certain key parameters when you deploy it in an organization, so it makes effective use as well as delivers the ROI. Now, when you look at that aspect, first thing is definitely you need to have an endpoint protection agent which is very lightweight. It does not rely on heavy updates on a continuing basis. It relies more on AI and ML rules engines which can detect behaviors. It requires to be able to constantly learn and adapt. It has to provide you elements with regards to understanding of how to respond to an attack. So the automation aspect is very key in such solutions because you cannot throw in an army of people behind the organization as you grow in. So you need to have more of automation aspects coming in. So if a bad behavior is detected, what could be the automated triggers that could be deployed, be it trigger to raise a ticket or an alert to your SOC team? Should be going ahead and blocking the specific process or terminating it. Or thirdly, containing a network asset, for example, so that you can isolate it from the rest of the environment and stop the spread of a bad behavior if it is really the case. At the same time, it should provide you a correlated threat intelligence across your ecosystem so that you can have more actionable insights and less noise.
All right, it always boils down to drown out the noise and focus on the signals. Just some reference points coming in from Dilip for choosing the right security provider and, of course, the right security frameworks. But it's time for another short break on SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present the Sentinels. When we return, the talk turns to knowing more about the all-new and improved XDR for securing an enterprise. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present The Sentinels. SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present The Sentinels.
Welcome back to SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present The Sentinels. So far, our talk has spanned topics around defining true AI security capabilities, use cases for machine learning and automation in cybersecurity, and of course, best practices when it comes to choosing the right autonomous endpoint security solution. Now, in this final segment, we will learn more about a new approach to countering digital threats. XDR. Diwakar, as sophisticated attack vectors multiply from, say, endpoints to networks to the cloud, many enterprises are turning to a new approach to counter advanced threats. That's extended detection and response, giving rise to yet another term, which is XDR. So I want to know from you, what is the difference between XDR and EDR?
It's fun, right? When you spend 20 years in an industry like this, there's so many jargons and acronyms every day. But on a serious note, right, if you start with the definition, EDR is all about endpoint detection and response, right? So basically able to understand the threats and be able to protect them, protect the assets against those threats. XDR is really taking it one step beyond the endpoints, which is primarily extended detection and response. What does it really mean? It means that you are able to automatically correlate data across various different multiple security real estate, right? Be it email, be it web, firewalls, network, applications, and whatnot. And by doing that, you're basically making sure that your chances of really catching the bad actors, right, the bad scripts, is a lot more faster and easier. One of the biggest problems is that we have a great firewall, you have a great endpoint, you have a great, some of the software, but they're not talking to each other. Right, and by the time you understood different consoles individually, and by the time you understood what happened, it's already a week. You kind of missed the attack, and that is why XDR tries to really bring all of this raw data from all of them, right, in different formats, unstructured formats, put them together, and then be able to give actionable intelligence in time to really enforce actions to be able to be on top of these breaches.
All right. Let me get in the last word from both of you, especially when it comes to XDR. Do you see an XDR-driven future for organizations, especially as sophistication becomes the new normal in this security landscape? Dilip, we'll come to you first for that, and then the last word from Diwakar. Your thoughts?
Today, we have various silos of security architecture and tools in the organizations. That is where the problem lies, because if you see the attacks are going more and more complex, and the adversaries are getting more and more successful. In a way, organizations are responsible for it too, because of siloed security architecture and tools which do not talk to each other or do not have a common language to talk to each other. And while we have all the AI and MLs in the world for the respective solutions today, there is no AI and ML which really sits on top of all those tools together in order to provide you a holistic view of your overall organization security posture and what are the risks that are coming in. The attacker would not really follow a single path in order to reach your crown jewels. And that's where XDR really sits on top as a platform. The myth that we have to bust out here is that XDR is a platform. It is not SIM or SOAR or NDR or a combination of these three. It needs to ingest data from all of them, baseline them, understand the good behavior and identify any mutations or any kind of slightest malicious activity that you see out of the line, and then allow this tool to be able to put out of the box standard rules for protection or alerting, as well as allow the organization to put custom rules so that they can put in their enterprise defense strategy in place in order to protect the organization.
Well, there are data lakes flowing into a data river, and then you make sure that you fish out the bad actors. And it almost seems quaint that, we remember Trojan horses, but now the attack vector has become so sophisticated, it actually seems nostalgic that things used to be simple once at one point in time.
Cybersecurity today kind of feels like a zoo with myriad, different animals out there, right? We have the ever, evolving threat landscape. We have an increasing attack surface. We have changing business needs thanks to COVID and whatnot. And you kind of have the CIOs and CISOs feel like the ground under their feet, right? Is really moving
every day,
right? I think the future is about XDR coming to this new purchase cycle, right? And a lot of organizations who have embraced EDR or in the process of looking at EDR to say that, hey, when I'm making investment in EDR, can I also ensure that this investment covers my, technology platform to go beyond just the endpoints, right? And go and give me a lot more broader detection outlook across endpoints, but servers and cloud and, sometimes even IoT devices. And if this can be possible, then I guess we are looking at a world where we can use the power of automation, AI, right, and fighting the machines with the machines.
That analogy might not work with some folks, but again, it's a brave new world, but for a brave new world, you need a secure new world to make sure all the possibilities can be unlocked. But we've run out of time, so on that note, it's time to wrap up this special presentation titled SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present The Sentinels. If 2021 looked like the year of escalation for cyber attacks, 2022 appears to be an even busier year, being spent in the trenches of cybersecurity, battling a greater number of new and cross-platform malware families, software dependencies that have become a massive blind spot, and of course, countering cloud-native ransomware. Now, the agility that AI and automation provides in addressing these issues, that could provide to be a game changer for defenders of data in any organization. And if your everyday work goes without a hitch, you know who to thank. On my part, I'd like to thank both Diwakar and Dilip for sharing their expertise on the topic and, of course, their organization's security journey and best practices. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is Gautam Srinivasan signing off. Have a great day.
SentinelOne and CNBC-TV18 present The Sentinels.